I let you guys choose what the next video project I would be working on would be, and on that poll, I mean, 46% of you last time I checked chose to do cornerbacks, so here we are, we're doing 25 cornerbacks. So on the poll, I said 20. Going through it, I'm like, 25. Let's go for even more. Let's shoot a little bit higher than that. And I will mention this at the start of the video too, because a lot of comments keep bringing it up. They want me to do the #1 player in the nation regardless of position. I'm definitely gonna do it. Like, everyone keep commenting it. Like, I'm gonna do it, definitely. I was just going through and just doing all the positions first, quarterback, running back, receiver. I wanted to do all the individual positions first before I go and do the #1 player in the nation, and that's kind of like the main event for me. I think this is kind of the last position group that I'm interested in doing. I don't think we need to do offensive, defensive line. I mean, unless you really want to see offensive line, defensive line, if you really want to see kicker, punter, tight end, I guess those are the only positions I haven't done yet. So, I mean, if you really want to see them, I can do them. It's just, especially for offensive and defensive line, the gameplay opportunities just won't really be there all that much. But, we will be working on some other projects. Then, #1 player in the nation will happen at some point. It's just, that one's obviously going to take a lot of time as well. And, when it comes to these videos, it takes so long to make. So between videos like these, me still trying to get Baylor Dynasty out every week, as that's at least the goal. Prince McNitt, his career is going to be finishing from Ever to Glory. And I don't know, maybe some of you guys will want to see him go to the NFL. Maybe not. Maybe we'll start a new road to glory. I've been keeping myself busy trying to get a variety of different videos out. I don't want to just kind of spam different variations of the same video for every upload and just watch it get stale very quickly. I want to, continue to put different stuff out there, evolve, kind of test what people want to see, don't want to see. It'd be pretty easy for me to just upload this type of video as my only upload every single time, but I don't want to do that. I want to, keep experimenting, keep doing different things. And, we see these first couple of corners go to Georgia, Texas, Oregon. So 3 corners already out there in the world of college football. But our first one, Amir Ingram, he's already up to a 90 overall in just his 3rd season at Georgia. Surprising that Georgia didn't even have like any coach boosts or anything. So, I always have to preface this by saying, for those who are watching this series for the first time and this is their first one, when I say overalls, when the overalls pop up on the top right of the screen or whatever, it's their overalls without any sort of coach boosts or anything. It's just their baseline overall, because, the overalls boosted by the coaches are going to fluctuate from team to team. So I just try to give you a base overall, and you can kind of add whatever else you want on top of that. Ingram gets his first season as a starter. Also, if I don't show you a player's stats, it's because they were probably #4 corner or below. Ingram, though, after his redshirt sophomore season, goes pro, and he goes to the first round, so that's pretty cool to see. We have LSU getting a corner here, so, 4 schools so far getting 4 different corners, all of them pretty big schools: Georgia, Texas, Oregon, LSU, and then we have the Texas corner out here. He's getting a little bit better, not quite at the level that Ingram was in his 3rd season. One of my favorite parts of these videos is just to kind of see what these different archetypes of players kind of produce and what the best and worst versions of these archetypes are. At corner, we have man, zone, and slot corners, and typically in my experience playing this game, slot corner is the most common type, and slot corners are also the lowest upside. When they say slot corner, they're a little rough to put on the outside because they have a lack of speed, lack of dynamic coverage ability. We have our first bust here in Devon Scroggins, so, we got our first bust before we got our first gem. That's not good, obviously, but, it's just an experiment that we kind of put everything together. So, for me, I'm a man cover guy. I like the man coverage corners. I always find them to be the best in my experiences, and this video is going to kind of put that to the test. You could tell me what your favorite archetype of corner is that you go after, but, I love finding those man corners that are really fast, and you could take a look at this guy right here. Speaking of fast, my goodness, he is kind of fitting that archetype of what I was talking about, a fast man-to-man corner. And I want to see what a generational corner looks like. So far in this series, we've gotten a generational running back. I don't believe we've gotten a generational quarterback. I don't know if there technically is a, by definition, generational player. Maybe you just consider 80 overall elite to be generational, but by my, evaluation of looking at the players, I think we've gotten a generational linebacker and a generational running back in this series so far. I wouldn't say quarterback or receiver. Maybe that receiver that we got that was Oregon one time was. But unfortunately, we did deal with our first little issue, which is one reason why I bumped it up to 25. We got our first cut of the video. And luckily for us, I mean, the cuts have been going down. When we did the quarterbacks, a couple got cut, running backs, there were some cutting issues that we dealt with. Recently, it hasn't been as bad. Only like one or two will get cut now, and there was even a video where none of them got cut. So I think it's definitely gotten better. The players have been going down when it comes to cuts, but I can say I do appreciate the amount of updates that this game has gotten and some changes that we've been able to have. I know it's minor things, changing numbers and ratings and the customization and everything. Stuff that, some people would complain, oh, it should have been in the game in the first place. But, it's nice to have those updates, especially for this being the first title in 10 plus years, and hopefully next college football we get to create a prospect feature and put those guys into the database and everything. That'd be a lot of fun to have. So we are going to be at a point where I think this is maybe the longest we've gone without getting in any action, and this is another reason why it's a little rough to do some of these other positions, because if you have a superstar quarterback or whatever, the impact of them potentially taking your team to the playoffs is greater than it would be just for a linebacker or a corner. Obviously, with these players going to top teams, they're eventually going to make the playoffs, but there's going to be situations where we kind of get on a little bit of a dry spell in these first couple of seasons. I mean, we've gone through 5, 6 corners. I think this is our 7th corner right now, and we have not seen any of these guys in action quite yet. Luckily, though, this year is the year we see Texas make the playoffs, so we get to see that corner in some action, but it will be the offense on the field to start off, and they are down by 4 with a handoff to the running back, who just gives them one of the most brutal trucks I have seen. That was just violent trucking by the running back, and now handed it off to him once again, going outside on the stretch, gets a block down the field, and he's going to break a tackle, and he finds his way through. Who is this guy? I should be focusing on him. What a run. Touchdown, Texas. Hey, defense, don't let him down after that phenomenal run. You got to seal the deal and make this a victory for your team as Penn State throws over the middle. That's going to be caught past the 40-yard line. And with just about 2 minutes to play, Penn State back to the line, now past midfield, throwing over the middle once again. And that's a tight window throw, just barely caught for the first down. 2-minute warning has hit, throwing. And that's going to be intercepted. There you go, defense. Texas takes the football back. And unfortunately, they do go 3 and out, but make Penn State use all their timeouts, use a little bit of time. And now Penn State's got the ball back with 1:20 to go. Very quickly, they get back to midfield and now drop in to throw over the middle. They're attacking the middle of the field, and this time it works out inside the 25. Now we're in the red zone, under a minute to play. Drop in to throw. They're going to go outside, and that's going to be caught for the touchdown. And Penn State has it in the lead, up by 4. Now with just a little bit of time to go, Texas, they go to the middle of the field. They're at the 31-yard line. They need a big play with less than 20 seconds to go. Throwing, and that's going to be caught. Broken tackle. He gets the first down. He's inside the 15-yard line. Texas, they have a little bit of time left, maybe 2-3 plays, and they throw outside. That's going to be intercepted. And that's Penn State taking it back, and they're going to win this game. And that just crazy set of runs is going to be all for nothing, and Texas is going to go down. He is going to end his career, but he had a pretty nice one, and he's probably going to be going to the NFL. You would imagine he would be hard to not want to go and draft, and he absolutely does get drafted in the first round. We have our next guy, Carden, going to Notre Dame. Despite being an elite dev player, Brent Carter, who was the number 2 prospect in the nation, just at 86 overall. I mean, I know it took him a couple of years to get into the starting lineup, but that's, I think you'd say, a little underwhelming that a top player in the entire nation, not just at his position, is, that low. And you can already see Scroggins is catching up to him, and he was the bust. So, I mean, maybe Scroggins won't be so bad. I mean, for a bust, 78 star development was what he walked in as. So, I mean, I wouldn't even really consider that much of a bust. Then you have Rashard Biggs, who is our first impact player. He came in lower overall, 76. His ceiling is definitely capped relative to some of these other players that we have seen, but he's going to hang around as the nickel corner here at West Virginia. I don't know if he's ever going to climb to being their number 1, though, so we'll see how his career develops. And then Josh Carden is the new guy brought in, 79 overall, star development. He's not going to be playing, at least this year, maybe not next year, but he's got a good path on him. I mean, really good traits and abilities here to potentially be a really nice player. And then our next corner we have here is going to be Roland Hardy, is a 4-star player. So, you know, we dealt with this a little bit before. 4-star can be the #1 rated player in the nation, so we'll see how that turns out. Georgia had a first-round bye and took care of business in their second-round matchup against Miami, so they are already on to the semifinals where they're taking on Arizona in a much closer game here. It is 21-20 as Arizona will drop to throw over the middle, and that's going to be caught, and already Arizona on the run, and they got the end zone for the touchdown, and they are on top now. 2-point conversion on the way to try to make it a full touchdown game. Handoff, it is going to be stopped, so Georgia can take the lead with a touchdown, and they will drop to throw here on offense, and they're going to throw an interception immediately, and that's going to be taken back, and it's a pick 6. First play of the drive is a pick 6. Now Georgia in desperation mode. They need something here. They go over the middle for a first down. They need to get into the end zone on this drive and do it pretty soon, as Georgia will throw outside, and that's going to be intercepted again. And while Georgia was able to get the football back and put up a touchdown with like 20 seconds to play to make it a 1-score game, it ultimately wasn't going to matter. And in Scroggins' first year truly being the starting corner, did not go their way in the semifinals, but a decent season to start off with. And Biggs got himself into the starting lineup once again. And then, you know, Georgia picked up that 4-star corner. So he is the #1 rated corner, yes, but he is a 4-star player. But to his credit, I mean, he is a gem. There is about 35-star players a season, and he was ranked 35th in the nation. So he was about as close to a 5-star as you could be without being one, and he was a gem. So he's still not spectacular for a player that is supposed to be the #1 corner. 76 overall impact, but I mean, Rashard Biggs, who was a 5-star player, #1 corner, was a 76 impact as well. So, I mean, he's not out and out the worst corner we have had. He is just tied for the worst corner. So he still is going to be able to hold his own, and you know, as long as on Georgia, he's not going to get buried too quickly and get cut. But Josh Carden here, he is an 83 overall, so he jumped up a nice 4 overalls. We're going to see, you know, how big some of these players jump. Different positions, you know, breed different jumps and overalls from a consistent level. So, you know, as usual, that ending sequence is going to be there at the end of the video where you can get all the stats and the data. So if you want to just skip to that, you can. But, I mean, the experiment is always fun in itself. So we have the next corner who definitely kind of makes up for it, a 5-star gem, Enrique Contreras. Our corners that are at least starting at this point in Scroggins and Biggs, definitely better seasons. Scroggins, 2 picks. Biggs, 6 interceptions. Really impressive. Contreras went to LSU, so we're going to hope that, you know, LSU, who got a corner already, they cut him. Let's hope they don't cut Contreras this time, because you know, there was one video where, like, Miami, I think it was, kept getting 5-star players and just cutting them. And one team just loves to mess up these experiments every time. But here's Hardy. Luckily, he didn't get cut. You know, I was thinking if any player was going to get cut, it might have been like a 4-star player who, you know, was on the lower end. But look at that. Hardy kind of sticks along at Georgia. So that's, you know, I think that's a feat all in itself to be able to survive on Georgia. Biggs, you know, he had a 6 interception season last year, but his impact development, he's just not getting all that much better. 82 overall is going to be what he is, and he's never going to go beyond the #3 corner on the team. But hey, he could be a really fun nickel corner. I mean, 6 interceptions, you know, 80 overall or not, you know, you'll still take that. Carden, you know, he's finally at the point where he's going to be able to play a little bit, hopefully. Things do get a little messy on the depth chart at times, because sometimes someone will be a #3 corner on the depth chart, but they won't be the team's, like, slot corner. They'll put someone below them because they're a higher slot archetype. So, you know, maybe if they're the 3rd best corner on the team, that doesn't mean they're going to be their 3rd most, you know, snap-getting corner. So sometimes it can get a little messy in that regard. But that Contreras dude, I mean, he is an 80 overall elite development player. Then we have Kevin Amador, who is going to be not as good, probably, but we are in the playoffs here. Josh Carden and his Notre Dame team makes the playoffs, and a sack there on 3rd down, and we already had an opportunity where Miami's got in a do-or-die situation. They're throwing it deep, and that's going to be intercepted, and guess who it is? It's Josh Carden with a game-sealing interception. So there we go. We get to see one of our corners not only in action, but make a big-time play to seal a game in the playoffs. Notre Dame now is in a 34-30 game. Nebraska Nebraska has the football down by 4, and they are going to have a catch over the middle. They are at about midfield now. 2-minute warning has hit. Throwing outside. That's going to be caught. He was wide open and a blown coverage. Touchdown, Nebraska. Now Notre Dame needs a response. First down and 10. They are down by 3, so they can get a field goal to tie this game up, but they're going to throw, and that's going to be caught past midfield at the 45-yard line just about. Now jumping ahead inside the 30. Notre Dame to throw it, and they're going to have in the end zone shot, touchdown, Notre Dame, and they respond quickly. Now we're under a minute to play, and Nebraska's got the football back, and Nebraska throwing over the middle, and that's going to be caught past midfield, and these teams are moving the ball with ease. Dropping to throw. Nebraska has got another one outside of the right side, and it's caught for a touchdown. What is going on here? We got a couple of big-time scores, and we sim ahead. I just usually sim the extra point and kickoff, but how about a 101-yard kick return for a touchdown? And now Nebraska has the football back, and now Nebraska on the first play of the drive has a deep ball touchdown. What is going on? This is like that Vikings and Ravens game from like a decade ago where everyone was just scoring in the final 2 minutes, and they throw an interception here, and the scoring streak's going to end, and Notre Dame goes down 51-48, and there was a bunch of touchdowns scored in the final 3 minutes of that game. And we keep hopping around here because we got a lot of teams in the playoffs. West Virginia made it with Biggs. They take down Sam Houston pretty handily. Georgia's here in the second round as well. So we still have some teams in the mix for a national championship. Georgia, though, it's a close one against Ole Miss. And we'll see if Scroggins can do anything here. And he does! He gets an interception! And Scroggins is going to take it all the way! And that's going to be a pick 6 for our guy. He was a bust corner, our first one of the video. And he's not looking like a bust today. And a sack here. Second down turns to third down and long. Hurrying back to the line. It's going to be a throw. And it's going to be a sack again. Fourth down and long, trying to seal this game. And they got to go a long way. Throwing his Ole Miss outside. That's going to be caught, but it's not going to be enough. And Georgia is going to win off that pick 6 by Scroggins. And while that game gave us a fun finish, their semifinals game, not quite as competitive. Another SEC opponent. This one, it was pure domination. Georgia goes to the national championship, but against who? Nebraska has the football trying to seal this game. West Virginia put up a touchdown to pull within 3 points, but now it's up to their defense to try to make a play here. Third down, caught over the middle, and that's going to be a first down for Nebraska. They ice the game, and now Nebraska's taken out 2 of our corners, and they are on to the final one, and this one, it ain't gonna be close. Georgia, 41-6, and they cruise to a national championship. And perhaps they wouldn't have done it without Scroggins. He had 2 picks in the championship game, and that pick 6 to win them the second round game. So, I mean, not only did Scroggins come out here and win the national championship, he played a very big part in doing it. Biggs ends his career, and he's not going to be drafted, unfortunately. He's just not a high enough overall. Scroggins does go later in the draft relative to some of these other players. And then Amador, he goes to Rice. So, you know, Rice, I know they're an academic team and everything, but man, Rice be getting some of these players. They've gotten, I think, a receiver, and I think they got a running back. I think they've popped up in these videos a couple of times, and they're always like that one random group of 5 team that be getting some of these players. Hardy is at the point where he's all right. I mean, he's a playable player. He can actually get onto the field and do some stuff. He's not quite a out-and-out starter for them yet, but he is good enough to play if they need him to. And then we have Contreras, who takes a big-time jump. Look at that. Going from 80 overall to 87. That is awesome to see. So that is a really impressive jump. I mean, he's got such amazing skill caps, so he could be a truly special player. But something tells me he might be leaving college football a little too quickly before we can see him hit his true potential. Amador was an 80 overall, which is pretty impressive, but impact development, so that's going to handicap him a little bit. But starting at 80 and still having some decent skill caps, he should be able to be a pretty nice player. And then our next guy, we have Deron Riggs, is going to be the 7th ranked player in the nation in a slot corner, and he's looking pretty decent for a slot corner, and we got some playoff action here on top of that. It is LSU versus Liberty. Liberty up by 2, 2-minute warning, and they're trying to run the football out. They can't do it. LSU gets a stop, so their defense does their job. And now it's up to the offense that has struggled. I mean, 13 points against Liberty is no good in this playoff game, but they get a big game there. Hurrying back to the line, minute and a half to play, dropping to throw, and they go outside, and that's going to be intercepted, and just as they got the football back, it's going to be right back to Liberty, who's going to take home the victory. So LSU with Contreras is going to go down in the first round, so that's going to be unfortunate for them, but we move on ahead. Josh Carden, now 4 years completed, and he was able to finally become a starter for that team. And Contreras, I mean, he played decently for, an early stage of his career. Carden, he's going to get drafted. The next corner, he goes to LSU as well. So, I mean, if you're keeping count here, that's LSU. 2 of the last 3 corners going to them. So they're going to have a potentially nice duo down the line if Contreras wants to stick around for, a 4th, probably not a 5th season if he takes a good enough jump. But Amador here at Rice, he took himself a nice little +3 up. But, you wonder how long he's going to stick around at Rice. Some of these players that go to even schools like that do at times like to transfer and go to a good school eventually. Their patience runs thin a little bit. Contreras, I mean, he went up +7 in his first year, so we were anticipating him kind of cracking that upper echelon of cornerbacks. He's an 89 overall in base, so that's really good, especially considering he is just a redshirt sophomore. And Riggs is really nice as well. Unfortunately, though, he is impact development, but for an impact player, his skill caps are pretty nice. I mean, you see impact dev players have such fluctuating skill caps. Some of them are capped out at about halfway through their kind of chart to become a great player. And some of them, they can go to 8 or a 9 out of 10 on their bars over there. But our next player, he is a bust. And we actually have Contreras making an All-American. Trust me, I've been looking. These players haven't been making All-American, even when, we've had that one season with Biggs getting 6 interceptions or whatever. These players weren't making All-American or winning awards here. But LSU in the playoffs here, second round screenplay is going to give them a 10-point lead here against Miami. So we'll see if this defense can hold on here on 2nd down and 1. Just another play later. They throw it up the right side, and that's going to be caught. And on the run, that's a touchdown for Miami. So they are right back in it, but LSU with the opportunity to seal this game, running the clock out. Can they get there? First down is acquired, and even though he got pushed out of bounds, it doesn't matter. Out of timeouts, out of time, LSU moving on to the semifinals. So they are going to be taking on West Virginia, and, they did put up a touchdown to make it a 2-score game late, but LSU gets firmly handled by West Virginia, and they get knocked out once again, but 2 straight years in the playoffs, and we're getting to at least see some of these players in action. Amador had a nice season. Contreras, really nice year, 3 interceptions, a lot of tackles. He goes pro. I'm not surprised by it, but it was a little disappointing. But what isn't? Amador transfers. So we have our first transfer of the video. Raiola also goes to Notre Dame, so Amador, I said some of these players that go to the smaller schools that are these big-time players, they only go to those schools for reasons that are play style or certain deal breakers that even good teams don't have to offer. And, eventually those deal breakers, they get broken and another team can swoop on in. Because he transferred, though, no progression really, so he just kind of staying firm, 83 overall. So, that's the good and the bad of a transfer portal player. But he's going to have an opportunity at Texas A&M to try to do something here. And Riggs at LSU, despite being an impact dev player, that's a pretty nice jump. I mean, if you jump up +5, you're going to be very happy with that. Would have been nice to see him and Contreras at the point where they can be, both on the field at the same time. But with Contreras leaving, it's going to open up a little bit more time for Riggs to potentially play. And Sateki Raiola, one of the cooler names we'll have in this video. He was a bust, 78 overall impact though, still definitely something you can work with, and a very nice player. And this next guy, Cantwell, more my type of corner, pretty speedy, 5'11", 82 man coverage, can catch, can do a little bit of stuff from Texas too. He looks like a really fun corner. Back in the playoffs we go though. LSU is there against Utah, and they are unable to get the job done. They lose by 11. And Hardy, we kind of were not really mentioning him all that much because he was a 4-star player and it took him until his final season to actually get on the field, and be a starter for the team. But when he did all right and he got himself drafted. So, I mean, for a 4-star player, overall successful job from him. Cantwell, I mean, LSU is on a run or something here. They've gotten, if we look through the past years, it's been LSU, Rice, LSU, Notre Dame, LSU. So, we're kind of in this bunch here where LSU's getting every other player. So they've gotten 3 of the last 6. Unfortunately, one of them's already gone, but they at least are going to have Riggs now at the point where he is going to, I think, be a starter if he takes that jump. And then Cantwell looks like a really good player, so, hopefully he can be a nice dev for them. Here is Riggs. So, again, for an impact, nice. He's an 89 overall after his sophomore season. That's the same as what Contreras was, and Contreras was an 80 overall elite player coming in. So 80 overall elite and 79 impact, both of them by their 3rd overall season are at the same spot. Cantwell, he is a really good player, star development, 79 overall, really good skill attribute cap, so he's going to potentially be really nice. Now you have to worry, though, is Riggs going to transfer before Cantwell can come in and be a starter on this team? Because Cantwell is going to start off on the bench. We have our next guy, Marco Correa here. He's going to be another, not gem, not a bust, but just a fine player. Amador in his, second season now at Texas A&M. Riggs, really nice year. He's getting to play, and he's going to unfortunately leave for the draft. So LSU, I mean, they're getting these corners. They just can't do much with them because they leave so quickly. And surprisingly enough, Rice back on the board again. I mean, they had one of them come in and transfer. They went and got another one. Cantwell now, he takes the biggest jump we have seen. He goes from 79 to 88 overall. That is spectacular. And a +9 jump at cornerback. And now, wonder, is he going to leave after like his sophomore season as well? Like, these guys are leaving so quickly. Raiola's doing pretty good for himself. So far what I've noticed about these cornerbacks is, they're choosing the same couple of schools. I mean, LSU, Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame, and I guess Rice is in the mix too for these cornerbacks, but, there hasn't been as much variety with these players. We haven't even seen, like Alabama or whatever. We have Emmanuel Body here. He is another 4-star player. He's probably the worst one we have found so far because not only is he a 4-star, he's not a 4-star gem like the other guy was. But back in the playoffs we go, and it's going to be Notre Dame in the mix this time. No LSU, but Notre Dame here down against TCU. 5-point game. Screen set up. It's going to be caught outside, running for the first down past the midfield mark, and it's going to be now them at the 34-yard line. It's going to throw it outside. Screen is going to get them the first down and to the 26. And they need that touchdown to take the lead with about 2 minutes to play. Dropping to throw, and it's going to be thrown over the middle and almost picked up. It's 4th down. That one could have been a game sealer. Instead, on 4th down, throwing for the marker. He got it, goal to go, and that costly, potentially dropped interception is going to set Notre Dame up. 1st and goal, caught, and that's a touchdown. And the Irish take the lead here. And now it's a 1-point game, 17-18, minute to play, and sacked right at midfield. It's 3rd down and long, hurrying back to the line, about a minute to play, dropping to throw, and over the middle, that's going to be intercepted, and Notre Dame's going to have it, and they're going to take this game home. Victory for Notre Dame, 18-17, a very unusual score, but a low-scoring game is going to catapult them into a 2nd-round loss, a thrashing at the hands of Colorado. So Colorado takes them out. Raiola, though, does his thing. He's the starter now. Cantwell is going to be, probably one of my favorite corners in this video so far. But now I need to kind of show you my confusion here at what happens next. Emmanuel Body goes to Georgia, and then when I go to Georgia, he's not here. Georgia got a bunch of other freshman corners, but he's not one of them. And, a lot of you people in the comment section will be like, oh, they'll pop up in the transfer portal next year, or they'll flip a commit. I've seen players flip a commit before. I've covered that in one of these videos before. This is me in like ×10 speed looking through all the players and looking through all the teams and looking through everything. Trust me, I spent a while every single season looking through all the rosters, looking through all the teams, looking through the transfer portal, looking through just to see maybe they pop up as a JUCO one year or something. I look everywhere. Emmanuel Body, this has not happened before because a player will sometimes get cut and disappear. He never even made it to Georgia. I don't know what happened here. He's just gone. He never even stepped foot. So when I seen him not on Georgia's roster, I initially was like, oh, he flipped his commit. This has happened before. Let me look for him. He's seen me look through all the players and look through all the teams. He wasn't there. I'm like, okay, well, now I don't know what to do. And then maybe he pops up some other time. He doesn't. He never pops up again. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe someone can let me know. I don't know if all of a sudden you can cut players as a freshman now. I don't know what happened. I also will point out that that corner we just scouted is absolutely insane. He has 99 speed and he's over 6 feet tall and he looks like an absolute monster. Also, just to clarify, for the body, when I looked, he also didn't get his position changed. Some people also pointed that out. He wasn't on the Georgia roster anywhere. He didn't get his position changed. He wasn't a safety, wasn't an athlete, wasn't anything else. So I genuinely don't know where he went, but we just move on. You know, he's only the second player that we've lost. I can't even say he was really cut because I don't know if he was cut, but Cantwell is looking pretty nice. Hideki Raiola is looking pretty nice, and we'll have a potentially generational corner. I don't know if we'll consider Trevor Ford generational, but he looks damn good. And Correa here sticking it out at Rice. You'll see if he sticks around for another season after this because, you know, like I said, some of these players do like to transfer from these smaller schools. But as we move on from him, we get to Trevor Ford, a 99 speed corner. He's just 78 overall, but I mean, star dev, nice man coverage to start. He by no means is like spectacular when it comes to his attribute caps and everything. And, you know, star development's nice, but obviously it's not elite development. But I mean, you know, 99 speed and base is pretty good. You'll be happy with that. One thing I do want to see when it comes to some of these archetypes a little bit down the line in these games is also, we'll point out real quick, Raiola did make All-American, so pretty rare to see some of these players do that, and they're in the playoffs. So one thing I do want to see, though, I want to see a bit more balance in some of these players. You know, Notre Dame takes care of business against Washington, but it would be really cool if there was just balanced players, you know, players who could play a little bit of man, a little bit of zone, and, you know, not be athletically deficient to where they have to play in the nickel and be great tacklers. You know, I'm fine with zone corners, I'm fine with man corners, I'm fine with slot corners, but, you know, have a little bit of a more well-rounded guy, because even though the slot corners may have some, you know, decent man zone balance, their athleticism or one thing or another kind of leads them to forcing them to put them in the nickel for a reason. So you'd like to see, you know, a little bit more balance in some of these players. I think all the positions with those types of archetypes, wide receiver, corner, and, you know, that type of stuff, you'd like to see balanced be an archetype for them, even though maybe it won't be the most exciting to say, oh, my player's balanced, but those players very much do exist. And you see Marco Correa, I mean, Rice has had 2 number 1 overall corners commit to their team, and those are also the only 2 players that have transferred. So Oklahoma State, welcome to the video here, because, you know, I don't actually think we've had Oklahoma State pop up yet in any of these. You know, it's really surprising to see some of these teams that just don't pop up. I mean, like, we don't have a lot of, like, Alabama, for example. Like, you'd think Alabama would be all over these videos. They're just not. And, you know, you have other teams, like, they haven't seen much Tennessee, I don't think. I think they had a quarterback, but we haven't seen much Tennessee, but here they are at corner. So it's nice to have them around. We don't see much Michigan, I don't think. We've seen them a little bit. But Oklahoma State is a good example. A pretty nice school, you know, a school that's pretty up there when it comes to being one of those Power 5 schools, ranked school, you know. Like, they're a good team, and, like, they just don't be putting up them 5-star number 1 overall players that much. So Cantwell, I won't say he was disappointing, but for a player who went from 79 to 88 from freshman to second season, you know, it's a little disappointing that after 1 season of a +9, he only got a +1 in the next 3 years. So, I mean, he definitely, like, just got all of his development out the way in 1 year. And it's still a really nice player, 2nd-round pick, 89 overall. But, you know, when you hit a +9, 88 overall as a second-year player, you're like, man, how high can he go? Can he be mid-90s, low 90s? Like, really quality first-round, high-end, best-in-the-nation type of player? Just didn't hit that. He was a really good player, though. And we see another, you know, corner here going to Oregon. So Oregon back on the board again. And this guy right here, Bryce Paul, looks really nice. I mean, he's fast. The thing about him, though, is he has really high zone coverage, but he also had, like, competent man. You know, a lot of these corners with the man zone splits have, like, 80 man coverage and, like, 67 zone, or, like, 80 zone and, like, 65 man or something. I'll see like that. But, you know, 85-75 split, pretty nice that he can come in and be a viable player on both man and be a really good zone player early on. And he is also going to go to Oregon. So Oregon back-to-back here, Forte and Bryce Paul, and, you know, they're going to have an opportunity to grow together. Trevor Ford takes a nice little jump up. He had 4 interceptions last year when he finally got to see significant playing time, so good for him. And with these Oregon corners, man, you know, it's going to be really exciting to see, you know, if they can actually be a duo. With these LSU players, they kind of came in every other year, and 2 of them left in their 3rd year, so they, like, just missed each other, basically. Like, they just weren't able to actually be starters together. But back-to-back, and both of them being, you know, nice players with good development traits. I mean, Forte, elite, and Bryce Paul, as we'll see, is also a really nice player. And in fact, not only is he a really nice player, he's the best player we have found overall-wise. 81 overall with star development, so really good player. I don't know if I'd say he's generational, but I mean, if you sit there and say 81 overall is generational, I guess I won't bite you, but like, really good. Next guy, Droogsma, pretty good athleticism for a slot corner, but coverage splits, not anything crazy. I mean, you could do a little bit better than that, so I don't think he'll be as good as Paul. And Miami here, I mean, we've been kind of breezing through. They get a nice, comfortable playoff win. Less competitive games that we have been seeing so far in this video. Oregon, unfortunately, goes down, but eventually these corners are going to get to be both starters together, and we have now Miami versus Kentucky. It's a 24-24 game, so we do have some competitive action here, and a draw play on 3rd down gets him the first. They are at the 25-yard line in position to take the lead. Play action throwing. It's going to be intercepted, and Kentucky takes the football back. And that's going to be unfortunate. They could have just kind of ran the ball, ran the clock out, kicked the field goal, but no. But Kentucky 3rd down here. An opportunity to get off the field, but he hangs on. What a catch. He took a shot there. And now Kentucky, enemy territory, 1.5 minutes to play. Deep drop on the play action. He's going to roll. He's going to run it. And he's got the first down, sliding inside the 30. And with 1.5 minutes to play, Miami's starting to use timeouts. It's going to be 3rd down. They run the football. And look at all those broken tackles. It's not enough to get them to the first down marker, but a field goal is good. Kentucky, they just need to hold on for a couple more plays. Could be even one play. Miami to throw less than 10 seconds. They have a catch. He needs to get out of bounds, so he fights for the out of bounds marker, but they don't give it to him, but the clock does stop. First down does have them stopping the clock, moving the chains, getting back to the line. They need to spike the ball, but the clock is running, and they can't get there in time. Kentucky takes it home, and Miami was so close. If they had maybe another second or 2, they could have. And Kentucky, they were in some kind of mood, put up 65 points and smacked Georgia around in the national championship. Don't think I've seen that many points put up in a national title game. And we have another, you know, new introduction into these videos. Look at Washington State on the board. Nice to see someone other than Oregon get one of these players, as Oregon's gotten the last 2. But Washington State getting introduced, and Trevor Ford, one of the highest overall players we have had. He is a 91 overall, so he is looking great. Davey not doing all that hot right now. I mean, he's been kind of stagnating in that low 80s territory, so he's got to do a little bit more for his development in his final season. Then we got Forte taking a little bit of a bump up in overall. He's still, you know, just kind of hovering around that number 2, number 3 corner, not quite the number 1 yet. And even though Bryce Paul is really good to start off, 81 overall, not a big jump here. 81 just goes to 83. He is still, you know, number 4 corner on the team, so, you know, a little disappointing in that regard. But we have the next guy over here, Washington State. Like I said, welcome to these videos. Star development. He looks like he could be a bit of fun. Not anything special. I'd say, you know, a pretty middle of the pack corner when it comes to what we have found so far. But pretty decent. 79 star is definitely workable. The next guy, Brightwell, definitely one of my kind of corners here. Super fast, press man corner. Love to see a player like him, and he could be one of the best players we have found so far. Another one of our really good corners, Trevor Ford, has been one of the better ones we have had. He makes All-American this year, and Oregon, they are in the playoffs here. 2nd round, they had a 1st round bye. They get a stop on defense, and now they turn it over to the offense. Oregon, 2nd down and 10, needing a touchdown. They throw a strike over the middle, and he's just that fast. Look at when he caught that ball. The defenders were all on him, and by the time he got to the end zone, he was a couple of yards ahead. That is crazy speed, and they get the 2-point conversion. It's 41-38, and now Wisconsin's got to try to do something to strike back, but they get sacked here, and it's going to be 4th down. They are going to punt the football away. I can't necessarily blame them because of how long distance it was, but Oregon's going to put in a dagger here, and that's going to be a rushing touchdown with under 2 to go. Wisconsin, with just very little time to go, they are able to score a touchdown, but they're not able to get the onside kick, so it does not matter. Oregon's going to take home the victory here, and they're going to win 48-45. And then on to the next game against USC. So USC put up a touchdown very, very late to make it a 10-point game, but Oregon was firmly in control of that one, and they are on to a national championship, and it's against Colorado. Look at Colorado being good, decades into the future here, as it's 21-20, and Oregon needs to do something here. They're already in field goal range, though, so they're comfortable. They can run the clock. They can run the ball if they want to, but they're going for it all. 2-minute warning has hit. They're in the red zone. It's 1st down and 10, and dropping the throw. They're going to go outside. That's going to be caught for the touchdown, and Oregon now going for 2 to try to make it a full touchdown game here. They're going to toss one out, and they cannot get the edge. Oregon now has to come up with a stop here. 5-point game. Minute 40 to play. Dropping to throw. Clean pocket. Over the middle. That's going to be caught. 1st down. And past the 40-yard line. Timeout used. And minute 40, they go back to the line. Drop into throw once more. And they go over the middle again. And that's a big-time strike. And that's going to be past the 30-yard line. They are closing in on the red zone already here. Can they take Oregon down here with a late touchdown throwing? And that's going to be intercepted. It's Bryce Paul, one of the #1 corner recruits. And he takes the football back. Now jumping ahead, 3rd down and 7. And Colorado's had to use all their timeouts, and they get sacked here. Good job taking the sack and not just throwing the football away, though. Colorado only has 20-something seconds to go, but they have a big play, and they get tracked down, though. A game-saving tackle. Now they're in the red zone, but they have a couple of shots to the end zone. Throwing, and he's going to go to the end zone, and it's broken up. 2nd down now. It turns to 3rd down, and with 12 seconds to play, you got another 2 plays. Throws that out of bounds, didn't like what he's seen. It's 4th down, national championship on the line. Blitz is sent, and he has nowhere to go. He gets sacked, and Oregon takes it. They win the national championship. 2 corners were on this team. It was Howie Forte and Bryce Paul. Bryce Paul got an interception. Even though he's the #4 corner on the team, he got a massive interception that potentially saved them that national championship. Obviously, that big tackle 20 seconds ago did as well. But, I mean, who knows if they would have scored if Bryce Paul didn't catch that pick. It was his only pick of the season, only of his career so far. Trevor Ford, deservedly so, goes in the 1st round. And things are getting a little weird now. Oregon, another corner. Brightwell goes to Oregon. They've gotten 3 of the last 4. I don't understand. And I'll tell you this right now. I am usering Oregon because they were in the national championship, and I do, just user whatever team that I am on for the playoff run or whatever. But I'm on auto. I put auto recruiting on. I do put the player on the board to scout them, but once I scout them, I take them off the board so the user, nothing gets messed up there and the computer doesn't already have the player on the board and goes after them. Like, I don't do anything. These videos take long enough to make. I don't got time to go out here and start manually recruiting these players to try to fix what school they go to. I don't know how Oregon has gone out here and gotten 3 of the last 4. I mean, at least the last guy, he was from Oregon, so it makes a little bit of sense why he would show up, but I don't know about the other 2. It's just crazy, though. They have 3 on their team at once in such a short span. We did see this before with the running backs, where Georgia, on the running back video, had 3 #1 rated running backs on their team. So, I mean, this isn't like something that's never happened before, but man, I mean, that's crazy. Costello, another man-to-man speedy corner, looks to be one of the good ones that we have found. Oregon's back in the playoffs. I mean, it was against Middle Tennessee. They scored all their points in the 4th quarter. It was literally a blowout, but 2nd round, I think Oregon's like having a Mickey Mouse playoff run here. They've had to play Middle Tennessee and Ball State, but once they actually got to play a real opponent, they got smacked by Auburn. And, again, 24-10. But something that's really interesting with the Sims, when you do Super Sim, the teams love scoring a touchdown with like 5 seconds to go to make the score not look bad. It was like 24-3, and then Oregon just gets a random like touchdown with like 2 seconds to play. And I've shown you a couple of the Sims where that's happened. Forte gets drafted, Davey gets drafted. Nice job from them. not going to Oregon. It's Mitch Costello going to Miami. So Miami, they had Trevor Ford, who was one of the better corners we have found, and now they got another one. Bryce Paul is finally at the point where he's going to play because, another thing that's been happening in Oregon is they just dominate the portal. Like, every time Paul was about to be a starter and they'd lose 2 corners, they'd go and get 2 top corners in the portal, so he would just permanently be the number 4. Now Bryce Paul is finally going to be able to start for the team, and we haven't really paid much attention to Drugsma that much because he's at Washington State, so that's kind of the downside of some of these players going to some of these lesser schools, is they're probably not going to see on-field action, with us spectating them, because Washington State probably ain't making no playoff appearance. But Costello looks to be an awesome player. He is an elite development, and he looks just like crazy with his skill caps. I mean, he's basically just a player with just an unlimited ceiling. And the next player we have, Percy Havner, not Percy Harvin, Percy Havner, looking pretty nice there, zone corner this time, and Oregon back in the playoffs again. I mean, this team is like in their prime, in their dynasty level era, if they can actually go out here and win another national championship. And they were coming out here against Texas Tech in the semifinals, and it's going to be caught for a first down. Texas Tech up by 3, and they're trying to run the clock out. So can Oregon get a stop here? First down and 10. And not only do they get a stop, they get an interception, and that's going to be taken the other way. Can he go all the way? That's going to be a pick 6. If he can go, he will. Touchdown. And that's going to be Brightwell, and that's the other corner that they just got. He's going to be, another great piece for this team. But my goodness, this Oregon secondary is ridiculous. They are going to be driving down the field, though. Texas Tech under a minute to play, throwing over the middle, and that's going to be a big-time contested grab. And Texas Tech now inside the 10, goal to go, second down and goal, and they're going to throw it back in the end zone, and that's going to be caught. He got the feed, and that could have been good in the NFL. And now Oregon, they have to do something big here if they're going to go to another national championship, and instead they throw a pick, and not only is it a pick, it's a pick 6, and Texas Tech knocks them out. And despite all those talented players, it's not going to be enough to get them back to a national championship. Oregon goes down despite the Brightwell pick 6. We are in the home stretch where it is Oregon dominated, as Paul is going to be, doing his thing. Brightwell looked really good, and he got a pick 6. Drugsma, I mean, he's probably getting out of there at Washington, and Paul goes to the NFL, he goes and gets drafted. Drugsma, he declares, he gets drafted. And Havner goes to Oregon as well. I don't know what's going on. Why are they all going to Oregon? I don't understand. We're almost done, though. That was corner number 23. He's going to Oregon. We only got 2 left after, so I mean, surely both of them won't also go to Oregon. Trust me when I tell you, I'm not influencing this at all. This has now kind of surpassed the Georgia running back thing where they had 3 of them and won a national championship. I haven't touched anything, but they're all going to Oregon. I don't know why. I feel like this has been, even aside from Oregon, just the least disparity when it comes to the teams. I mean, Georgia and LSU have gotten like 3 or 4 each, and Notre Dame's gotten like 2 or 3. Like, it's been a lot of just the same teams. They have a gem corner here, so that's pretty nice. A slot corner as well. And despite the talent that Oregon has, they just aren't able to string together, another national championship. They got 1, but I mean, another first round bye, another first round exit. They go down to Michigan, and Brightwell goes nuts this season. What a year. How about a 9 interception season? I mean, after that, you might as well go and declare, yes, he does go and declare, goes in the first round, deservedly so. And it doesn't matter because Oregon's just going to go and get the other corner. I genuinely don't understand this. What is going on? That'll put our tally at the last 7 corners. 5 of them have gone to Oregon, and I don't know why. Some of these players, location-wise, I guess, of the 5 corners that Oregon has gotten, 1 from the state of Oregon, 3 from California, so they're all close, and maybe proximity to home was a deal breaker for them. I wasn't specifically looking at the deal breakers, I guess, but I guess location-wise it makes sense. There aren't, that many great schools in the California area, but USC exists, UCLA, somewhere else. Our final corner, Derek Earl, is going to be just a standard zone corner, And in the playoffs here, look, welcome back, Oregon. They're here again, and this time it's actually a close one against Oklahoma State, 24-24. Little time to play, and Oklahoma State's quarterback is tucking and running, and he's got a big run, 20 yards, 25 and more. Oklahoma State looking to just run the clock potentially, kick that field goal, win the game, but maybe they're going to go to the end zone here. It's going to be first down and goal, basically, and now handing it off, third down and goal, touchdown, Oklahoma State, and they're going to leave Oregon just a handful of seconds to play to pull off a miracle here. And, you know, for all the great defenders that they are getting here, because it's not just cornerbacks, they're recruiting well in general. I mean, they're not putting it all together, as they're going to hurry back to the line. Are they going to get the playoff? Are they even going to get a shot here? And no, they will not. They go down. And Oregon just choking it away with all these great players. They got one national title. You'd still deem that a success, but man, you'd hope to be more involved in the national title picture, at least make it there. I mean, they're just getting bounced in their first game every single time. For Miami, even though Mitch Costello didn't have like some stellar lockdown career, you know, gets drafted in the first round, has the talent to do so. And we break the streak. We end it without an Oregon corner. He goes to Ohio State. And I think that's Ohio State's first one on the board, because Oregon's just been dominating the entire thing. But, you know, finally. And this corner was from Pennsylvania, so if Oregon would have stolen the top corner and gotten him from Pennsylvania, I would have really called into question what the heck is going on. At least I can understand the Oregon and Utah and, you know, California corners or whatever going there, but why the heck would a Pennsylvania corner want to go there over a place like Ohio State or whatever? I don't know, but I mean, Oregon's still chilling when it comes to their top-end talent. But Derek Earl, nothing special. He is an impact development. Not exactly a stellar player to end on, but we will be wrapping things up. Just a few minutes left in this section of the video. Oregon, hey, they got a playoff win here. I mean, we're basically just covering Oregon at this point because they have everybody. They take down Purdue in a pretty comfortable fashion here, and in the next round of the playoffs, they do the same thing. They take care of Michigan State very comfortably. So look at that. We're going back to a national championship appearance here, and it's going to be against Auburn. Oregon just scored a touchdown, you know, 3-point game now. They kicked it off, and now Auburn trying to run this clock out and take it out of Oregon's offense's hands and give themselves a national championship. They get a first down there, make it another first down up the middle, untouched for a big time run. Now we jump ahead, third down, trying to ice the game here, and they get the first down, and Oregon's defense just couldn't get them off the field. They pulled themselves within one score, but the defense couldn't do their job, and Auburn is going to win the national championship. And Oregon, I mean, once again, they just can't do it, even though they got all these great players. So, you know, let's move on. We got another year in the books. Earl, you know, he did actually play a decent amount for being a freshman corner. Havner, he gets drafted, but for Ohio State, I mean, Oregon's been stealing all the good corners that Ohio State had to immediately start Earl as their #1 corner as a freshman. I mean, we're at the point where Ohio State needs a 79 overall corner to be their best. But, I mean, that's what happens when they have just not gotten any of the good ones. He did take a okay jump, +3, but, I mean, still the #1 corner on the team, less than ideal, at least at this point in his career. And we're going to see if Ohio State can maybe sneak into the playoffs. Let's get to watch someone other than Oregon. And that'll be a big no, because not only does Ohio State not make it, Oregon doesn't make it either. So now they've just completely fallen off after that national championship loss. And, you know, we're down to our final 2 corners in the video. And these are the only guys left. Oregon has run out of resources. They've run out of talent. I stopped following the #1 corner. So, I mean, maybe they still are getting them. I don't keep track of it anymore. 25 is enough for me. And this dude's looking pretty good right now, actually. So, you know, he's at the point where he's one of the higher overall guys we've gotten, 91 overall in base. Earl doesn't jump at all, so unfortunate for Ohio State. They finally do get a corner, and it's going to be one of the worst ones we have found. But essentially, this is going to be it for the video, unless we can have an Ohio State playoff appearance in the final season. He goes and gets drafted himself, and he takes a jump at least. He's at 86 overall, but I mean, nothing spectacular. And as we wrap things up, Ohio State will not be making a playoff appearance, and you know, we will get to the data, we will get to all the statistics, all the final results. So without further ado, let's get into all of our final results, as Earl does also get himself drafted. Let's get into that stuff right now. We got the final tally here, and when we look at the location, starting off with that as usual, Texas, California, Florida, Georgia always are some of the most common areas, and those were the only ones that even had more than one player. This definitely was more spread out when it came to the single states that got a player. I mean, I haven't seen states like Connecticut or Pennsylvania, Utah, Maryland. I mean, some of these states have popped up in the past, but I mean, definitely haven't seen Connecticut, I know. So overall, it's the usual suspects, and, you know, it wasn't like a previous video where, like, it was overwhelmingly one state. A couple of states had, you know, maybe a back-to-back year or, you know, a certain amount in a small span of time, but for the most part, it was one of the more spread out positions that we have had. Then we get to the other recruiting info, and we can say that there was not a single athlete that was the #1 corner in the nation, which is pretty interesting. It seems like the further we do these videos, like going from quarterback, running back, receiver, defense, and now onto the secondary of the defense, you know, it's less and less athletes. You know, at quarterback, there was a healthy split, same thing with running back, but the more we go on, the more we see that the athletes just don't pop up at positions like corner. And on top of that, I mean, we've had some run-ins with the fact that not every #1 rated player at a position is a 5-star. This did pop up in this video where 2 of the players were not 5-stars. There were 2 very, like, high-quality 4-stars. Like, there's about 35-star players, and the lowest ranked player was 35th. They were both 35th ranked players in the nation at a 4-star. So, you know, they're still really quality players, just not quite the 5-star top of the line players like we had when it came to our highest ranked player. We had the #1 player in the nation play corner, and on average, this one's a little bit lower, but 12th is the average rank of the #1 corner in the nation. This was definitely the most evenly split archetypes. 10 zone, 10 man, 5 slot. I think that's actually a really good split. You know, if I were tuning this, I mean, this is about what it should be, I think. So, I mean, they did a good job with that. I mean, maybe this is just the smaller sample size. 25 is a lot, but I mean, obviously we could do, you know, dozens and dozens more tests. But I mean, for the split that we had, a 40-40-20 split is very good for the archetypes. Then we have how good were they? I mean, the gems and the busts, the development traits, and we see that 5 gems, so about 20% of the time, only 2 busts. And I mean, as we'll get into, one of the busts is, you know, one of the better corners that we did have. Now, I did have to make an adjustment for the development trait because that one corner, Emmanuel Body, who just got, like, nuked into the void, he never popped up, so I didn't get to see what his development even was. So, you know, everything else is at a 25. This is at a 24 because he just, I don't know where he went. I still can't figure it out. I went back and looked and tried to see what it could have been. I have no clue. But 21% of the players were elite. Half of the players were star, and, you know, a not so great amount of impact players. There was a little run we had during the video where there was just a lot of impacts, and 7 of them were impacts. It's, you know, less than ideal, not as good as a split as other positions have given us in the past, but I mean, still 70+% of the time you're getting a star or an elite player, which is still really good. Getting to the development path now, this one was a really unique one when it comes to that year 3 to year 4 difference. So when it came to cornerbacks, I mean, they were starting off about a 79 overall, you can round up there, and a couple overall jump, but a lot of the time when it came to these corners, the really good ones were in and out by that 3rd year. That 3rd year would hit, they'd be 88, 89, 90 overall, and then they're gone. Like, they're hitting the NFL just as fast as the wide receivers were. So that's going to contribute to the fact that the ones that weren't hitting the NFL, it's because they weren't as good of an overall. So that drags down the year 4 overall average. So getting a corner in year 3 on average, you want to see him take that big jump to be high 80s to low 90s. You're unfortunately going to lose out on him. But I mean, when you don't get that big jump in year 4, I mean, 85 overall by the time they're true senior, you know, maybe 86 overall, that's not great. And I didn't want to chart this one because it was a smaller sample size. There were like 8 corners to make it to a year 5. Now, if you made it to year 5, it was like an 88 overall on average. So at the very least with some of these corners, if you got a redshirt senior, you were getting a really nice year 5. But I didn't know if 8 was a high enough sample size to put that on the chart. But highest overall we got an 81 overall. We got lowest overall, there was a 76. In the other videos, we've had peak overalls hit mid-90s, you know, obviously other than the quarterback, but peak overall for the corner, just 91. Happened 3 times, but just 91. We did see a player take a +9 in his first season, you know, for progression. Unfortunately, though, he only got a +1 the rest of his career, so he didn't even get the biggest career jump. +13 was the biggest, +3 was the smallest. There were some corners that just didn't get better. Some of the other miscellaneous info, 72% of these players went on to get drafted into the NFL, which is a pretty good percentage. 36% of them, so 9 first-round picks were selected. Obviously, that's going to deem this an overall success at the #1 corner spot if a third of these players basically are first-round picks. Like I said, 8 of them made it to a 5th year. Not as many All-Americans as you would have liked. I mean, some of these players, I don't know how they chart some of these awards and accolades, because there was some crazy seasons that some players had. They just didn't make All-American. I don't know. There just needs to be a little bit better stat tracking in this game, especially for the defenders and some of these exterior positions that aren't as simple as QB, running back, and receiver. And then the craziest of them all, in a 7-year span, Oregon got 5 of the 7 players. They got 6 overall. That's pretty crazy. I don't have really an explanation for that one. When we get to the best of the best, I wanted to shout out Scroggins for having a game-winning pick 6 in a playoff game and then going on to have 2 interceptions and a national championship victory. I think he deserved a shout out, even if he was just a 4th-round pick and a bust player. Technically, he was still really good. Contreras and Cantwell both at LSU, really nice. Cantwell went up +9 overall in his first season and then didn't do a whole lot for his progression elsewhere. Ford had the most overall interceptions and was the most overall productive, and Brightwell had a 9-pick season. So overall, that is going to do it, and I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this video and what you want to see next. Like, comment, and subscribe, as all that stuff is super helpful as I continue to get all these videos out that take a whole lot of time to make, and I will see you guys all in the next one.